You're tuned in to the Foxboro BeatCast, a podcast for Patriots fans by Patriots fans. And here's your host, Kaleb McChesney.
Hello and welcome to the Foxboro BeatCast, everybody. I'm your host, Kaleb and Trent. Alongside me, once again, my co-host. I should really get to work on putting you on the thumbnail and the outro, but I'll get there eventually. Trent Osborne, once again, back at it. Trent, I understand that this episode was delayed because you were too busy, rocking the bingo halls this week. Did you win anything or?
I didn't win a thing, and I'm not
Good.
gonna lie. Bingo's probably being at a bingo hall playing bingo, probably one of the 5 most intense things I've done in my entire life.
Was that more intense than sitting on draft day last year waiting for the Colts to make their quarterback pick?
I don't know about that. I mean, our quarterback could be Will Levis right now. I mean, that was pretty nerve-wracking.
No, we're in that spot now this year, the New England Patriots. We come to you a couple of days late. You'll be watching this on Saturday around noontime. So nice little weekend action before we get into WrestleMania at night. We covered that this week. Trent, you were supposed to be there, but you were off doing something else. All that in mind, let's just get right into it. The New England Patriots sit at pick number 3. Earlier this week, they had Drake May in for a pre-draft visit, and they're going to have Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy in over the next week. So those are the 3 quarterbacks that are really in play for the Patriots if they decide to pick at number 3. Now, we've had this conversation over and over and over again, a little bit ad nauseum here. So I kind of want this to be kind of the final window dressing of the quarterback conversation, if you will. I'll once again just put it to you like this. I'll ask for your position. What would you do at number 3? And then I'm going to tell you what I would do, whether that is picking one of the quarterbacks, whether that's trading down, whether that's doing something else, which I will yell at you if it's that third option. But Trent, I'll let you kick this off first. Patriots, number 3 overall pick. You're Elliott Wolf. You're Gerard Mayo. You're in the war room come 3 weeks from yesterday. What are you doing with that third pick?
What I would do personally is, out of all those options, assuming Caleb Williams is gone at 1.
Yeah, let's assume Caleb Williams is off the board at 1.
Yeah, assuming Caleb Williams is gone, which he's going to be, I would trade with Minnesota. If Minnesota is offering 11 and I believe 23.
Yep.
If that is on the table and you could even get more, I would take it in a heartbeat, and I would honestly consider going wide receiver at both 11 and 23. Maybe you go with how deep it is at tackle. Maybe you go tackle at 23 or 11-2, however, whichever you want to do. You take a first-round wide receiver, you take a first-round tackle, and then at the beginning of the second round, you take Michael Penix.
You've outlined what I want to do. What do you say? What's the if? I cut you off.
Well, I was going to say if, because now we're starting to get into that time period where Penix is doing interviews and people are starting to be a lot higher on him. People are mocking him into the first round, so maybe you have to take him at 23. Maybe you do that. And I don't think that's a gross overreach. I would prefer to get him at the tail end of the first round if you trade back even from 23 or with that third pick of the second round. But if you can walk away with top 30 wide receiver, top 30 tackle, and Michael Penix, where there's not nearly as much pressure to hit on that pick, I think that's a home run draft for the Patriots.
No, as far as Michael Penix goes, I've been trying to. A lot of people around the New England media circuits are high on Michael Penix. Some of them, it's their favorite quarterback, considering all of them, which is crazy to me. But Patriots set out scouts to his pro day, but nothing since then. He hasn't gotten the in Foxboro interviews like the other 3 have. Listen, there's only one thing the Patriots could do that would really piss me off, and that's drafting a wide receiver or tackle at number 3. That would be the number one thing that would piss me off. I don't care if it's Marvin Harrison Jr. I really don't. I'm not interested in having Marvin Harrison Jr. rot for 2.5 years because we can't get a quarterback. With all that in mind, I think if they love Jaden Daniels, if they love Drake May, take them. Take that quarterback. If you are sold and that's your guy, it is so important to have a quarterback that you truly believe in. Even if it's JJ McCarthy, truthfully. If you really think JJ McCarthy is your guy and you want to take him at 3, I am all for it. Just don't rush it with him like you can with May or Daniels, because you put out JJ McCarthy out there right now, he's going to get killed. And you have to be patient. You can't be 2-6 in October. Jacoby Brissett's not looking great. He looks like the fringe starter he's always been. You're sitting there 2-6 at Halloween. Do you have the gall, the balls, the guts to stick with the plan and not rush the development of JJ McCarthy? I think that's the number one most important thing. Now, as an outsider, not knowing the position that Elliott Wolf or Gerard May are in, we don't know if they actually love somebody. We don't know if they're actually wanting to trade down and they're just trying to get the biggest haul they possibly can and trying to tout that they're interested in a quarterback, or we don't know. We don't know. Objectively, I would trade down. I'm right there with you. I would trade down with Minnesota, drop the 8 spots, get the 11, 23, and then the future first. And listen, this draft is deep in all the things we need, which is offensive skill players. Maybe not the running back position, but we need the quarterbacks. There's a couple of quarterbacks that you could take between 11 and 35 that you could take and would be at least a little bit promising. There are probably a solid dozen receivers that you could take that look really, really good that you can get between 11 and 33. The tackle class, as we've said, maybe a little bit thinner than the receivers, not by much. You could take someone between 11 and 30, whatever that fits, and you can be promised in. And what I would do, my personal plan would be to trade down, take the tackle at 11. This wide receiver class is so deep, you can get one at 23, and then you just figure it out at that top of the second round pick, whether that's Penix, if you somehow if this whole thing is kind of a smokescreen like it was with Levis, and he wasn't really ever touted as a first round pick, but he's a second round instead. Yeah, the Patriots draft scenarios are very interesting. And that's been all the talk in Boston media the past couple of weeks, because what else is there really to talk about as far as Patriots things go? You really hope that there would be more to talk about with this offseason. You'd hope that there'd be a bigger splash with Gerard Mayo saying, oh, yeah, we're going to burn cash this offseason. You'd hope that there was going to be more investment in skill players, not just bringing back damn near 30-year-old Kendrick Bourne with a torn ACL, bring back Mike Onwenu, which is important, but not the splash move you really wanted. You didn't get your left tackle, your starting left tackle in free agency. Right now you're still stuck with Chukwuma Okafor. And there's no new wide receivers to report. So, I don't know. I think we both can agree this Patriots team is far from a quarterback away. There's no quarterback probably in the league that comes in here and makes the Patriots AFC East favorites. And we'll talk about the AFC East in a little bit. It's a peculiar position. This is probably the most invested I've been in an NFL draft in a long time, because this is the highest we've drafted in a very long time. I think the highest of my lifetime. So yeah, I think you're in agreement with me. Don't draft a quarterback if you don't love him.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the idea. I'm never for, I don't care about the situation. I'm never for forcing a quarterback pick. We've said it on the pod before. That's how you end up, because if you draft a quarterback in the top 10, even if they're horrible, you have to stay committed to them for 3 years or you look like a joke. You don't have a choice. So if you force that pick with somebody you don't like, then it's not going to go well for your team.
Not even a don't like. If you don't love Drake May, if you don't love JJ McCarthy, if you don't love Jaden Daniels, I would rather take the option. I would still rather take the second option of trading down with Minnesota and getting that haul. I would.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad mentality to have either, as far as you need to like the guy, you need to like the guy. Personally, I mean, Michael Penix has a lot of talent. He's got a lot of good stuff. The red flags are massive, massive red flags for sure. And I don't blame teams for being off put by him, but there's not a better guy you could have to mentor him than Jacoby. You're going to pay him second round money as opposed to first round money. And if he doesn't hit, you can go back in a year or two. You're not nearly as invested in the development of Michael Penix Jr. as you will one of the guys in the top three of the class. That being said, I'm not nearly as opposed as you are to just taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
No, I'm out.
because
I am so out. And when we can get a just as good, not a just as good, a fine to grow the great receiver at 11 or 23, I don't see how Marvin Harrison Jr. would be anything but rotting on our Patriots team for the next 2.5 years.
Well, for a while he may be rotting, but Marvin Harrison Jr., if he is the talent that we think he's going to be, quarterbacks are going to want to play with Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like, for example, the Vikings. I'm shocked they didn't end up signing somebody. And the quarterback class in free agency this year wasn't the greatest. The only guy that was really sought after was the guy leaving. But Justin Jefferson is a guy that quarterbacks are going to want to throw to. Just like wide receivers want to go play with quarterbacks who want to throw them the ball, the vice versa effect of it. So I don't hate that idea. If it was just, oh, take the best wide receiver on the board, I would hate it. But when you've got a guy who looks like the best wide receiver prospect in a decade, like I said, I'm with you. I would rather trade back and get the haul, but I don't blame him for saying, let's get the absolute best prospect we can. I don't blame him for doing that either.
Thankfully, though, from the reports that came out of the league meetings a couple of weeks ago, most Patriots insiders can confidently say that if they're sitting at 3, they're taking a quarterback. Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't even in the conversation for number 3 for them. It's quarterback or trade out. It seems to be the consensus there in Foxborough, which thank God I do not have to lose sleep over it, because that would be the one thing that would make me freak out on our Foxborough Beat stream on that, at least that Thursday. I don't know if I'll do anything on day 2. I might. But yeah, that would make me lose my mind if we didn't take a quarterback at 3 and we didn't trade down. But speaking of trades, as we kind of step aside the Patriots talk, I'm sure that there's going to be even more of it over the next couple of weeks before we actually get this hammered down and we can look after the draft to be like, okay, we can kind of look at how these rookies stack up on our roster and get a better idea, because as of right now, we have no clue. We have no clue. And at this point, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed with the pre-draft talk. I just want to get there. But like I said, speaking of trades, the Buffalo Bills, they made a move that we've all been kind of waiting for, but have never been super convinced it would happen. They went and traded wide receiver Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans. The official details: the Bills received a second-round pick in exchange for Diggs, a 6th, and a next year 5th. Yeah. So Diggs has obviously been in the trade circles for a while. Every Sunday, just about, you could see him losing his absolute mind when Josh Allen misses him on a throw. All signs pointed to that relationship kind of being on the cliff, and Buffalo goes and gets out of it, and they trade him to a Houston Texans team that just got a whole lot scarier. Trent, I'll just send this to you. What do you make of this?
I think it's an interesting deal, but and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Colts fan. I'm not sure how good of a deal it was for Houston.
Why not?
Well, I look at it, they gave up a second-round pick for an aging quarterback coming off the worst year of his career. Definitely one of the worst years of his career. First half went great. Second half didn't really do much of anything. Dropped a massive ball. Would have been a massive play that definitely led to the Buffalo Bills losing that playoff game against the Chiefs. You're trading a second-round pick and for an upcoming draft, I believe, because it was a 2024 second, correct?
2025 second.
2025 second. Okay. So to a lesser extent, but a second-round pick for that guy aging, all these things. Massive head case. I don't know if you heard the report that came out today about the incident with him and Josh Allen from
Oh,
after
I
week
did. I
one.
did. Yep.
Yes. For those who don't know, Josh obviously had the horrid week one game against the Jets. I believe he had 4 turnovers in that game. They ended up
Something like
losing.
that. Yeah.
Bills guys are coming up to him, consoling him. We'll get him next time. General rah rah stuff, just trying to be there for their teammate. Diggs walks up to him and says something, and Josh snaps on him, says it's one effing game. So Diggs has been a problem in the locker room forever. I don't think that's the kind of guy you want to bring in, especially when we're not even sure what kind of talent level he's going to be at. Plus, they worked the contract out to
I
where
was about
there's
to say, did you see the contract details? You went
yes,
right for it. Oh, good. Go
yeah,
ahead.
unrestricted free agent after this season. So you traded a second round pick for what could be a 1 year rental of a head case that may not even produce that much on the field for you. It it's a big risk. I like the idea of going all in for a quarterback as good as Stroud on a rookie contract, but I could see this very easily blowing up in their face as well.
So, in the grand scheme of things here, let's start with the Texans while we're there. You said you're not sure how well this is going to go long term, but just in the kind of a vacuum here, can we confidently say Houston Texans winning this division once again, and they're looking like a strong AFC favorite?
Oh, well, I think you could have said that. I think you could have said that before the Diggs move. The Diggs move, I'm very TBD. I want to see how it works. I want to see how it looks. He's going from a wide receiver room where he really had no competition for targets whatsoever to a room where he's going to have a whole lot of it. And then you look at the fact that how good they were last year. I don't think there's any doubt in that. As far as AFC favorites go, I don't like them as much as Baltimore, and I don't like them as much as Pittsburgh. I'm sure that's a bit of a hot take, but
No, it is.
I would say they're solid. They're solidly one of the 4 best teams in the AFC.
Would you just trying to think of teams to really kind of compare them to? Would you take them over a team like the Bengals
Yes,
at full strength, assuming
yes,
confidently?
yes.
All right. Do they play it all this year? Do you see the Texans and the
I
Bengals?
have I have the
What are their
sched
opponents?
I have the schedules pulled up right now, actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep. For a segment we're gonna do later. They I do not believe they play Cincinnati. No,
Damn.
they do not play Cincinnati.
Would have been fun to revisit this one.
Yeah, no kidding.
um, but yeah, no, and then the Bills. Obviously, they lose their number one wide receiver. Right now, that room is Khalil Shakur and Curtis Samuel. Uh, as it stands today, are the Bills still the favorites in the AFC East?
I lean yes,
I'm with you.
but you also have to factor in that they're not just losing Stefon Diggs. They lost their entire starting defensive backfield. I think I read somewhere that they've lost 6 of their 8 captains from last season. I think the only 2 captains left on the team are Josh Allen and Von Miller, which Von Miller doesn't really
A
play.
dinosaur at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So Josh is really the only captain still on the team. So it's going to look a lot different. I'm a big believer in James Cook. I always have been. I think more run
Somebody
for
has to be.
well, Joe Brady was too, and the offense looked a whole lot better in the back half of the season, but the team as a whole did. I'm a big believer in James Cook. The offensive scheme that they had last year seemed to really work for him. That could be a big trade up candidate. I can't imagine they don't trade up to try and get a receiver this
Oh,
year.
for sure.
The Colts are going to be looking to trade back almost assuredly at this point. So the Colt moving up to 15 to get a receiver might not be.
They could even move up to the top 10. I've heard.
Oh, they definitely could
I've
move
heard
up.
that they could be in on Malik Neighbors.
Oh,
Yeah.
like up to 6?
Yeah, up between 6 and 9. Yeah, they really interested in that wide receiver class,
That would be a big haul if they traded up to 5 or 6.
and I would be just bashing my head against the against my desk here.
I don't know. I don't know if it's worth because that team, the roster is really not that great. I mean,
I
I
mean,
would,
the Bills' AFC East candidacy is really just relying upon the Dolphins not being able to win big games, the Jets being the Jets, the poverty franchise that they are, and then the Patriots being at the beginning stages of a full blown rebuild.
yeah. I
So
don't think the Jets are gonna be a problem at all. I know that they're a trendy pick again this year to win the AFC East. Hate it. But Miami is still good enough to where
no, that everything on paper about Miami says they should be running for the AFC East every single year, and they
yep,
usually are until December. Until December when they lose 3 of 5,
yep.
4 of 5. It's hard to believe in them, and I love the talent that they got in Miami. I love Mike McDaniel, but something about they just can't win big games. And I'm not sure what it is because Tua could have a great game in December and then the defense falls out. And then Tua pukes on himself the next week, but the defense stays strong and Tua loses them the game.
Oh, they have a tough schedule too. Miami does.
Yeah, second place schedule.
Yeah, that is.
Problematic.
I mean, that Buffalo doesn't have an easy schedule either, but
Yep, not a great division. We're kind of back to the Tom Brady days of the AFC East at this point. Um, I'm taking the Bills until further notice in that division, but it should still be competitive into December, and all it takes is Miami getting their heads out of their ass and starting to learn how to play in these big games. They showed a little bit last year. I remember they had a big win against Dallas at the end of last year. They need to do more of that. So we'll see what happens when the schedule comes out. I believe in mid-May, and I'm sure we'll have our reactions to that as well. Before we move on to the fun segment, I know we're kind of flying through topics here, but it's April 5th. The draft is in 2.5 weeks, almost a little under 3 weeks. There's not much to talk about, people. We are just spitting the stories over and over again until we get it right. I understand that you brought something to the table before we get to that. Before we get to that final segment, I'm going in about blind. I don't know what
okay.
you're kind of bring. I know the general idea of what you're bringing out, but I can't tell you what I'm going to think of it. So I'm just going to give you the chair. The show is yours for the next 10 to 15 minutes, however long we need, and go for it. It's all yours.
Well, I've had a theory for a while now that I'm starting to see more and more elements of. Nobody's quite said it completely in the way I have, but they've brought up the idea. When you hear so much about how you win in the NFL is you get a quarterback on a rookie deal and you go all in. And I agree, that's absolutely the best way to win in the NFL. But at the same time, if you know that's why that's the best way to win in the NFL, why are you then giving your quarterbacks
Mega
50 to
extensions,
60,
yeah.
50 to $60 million a year, these massive cap hits? Because it is proven, it is a proven science that unless you have Patrick Mahomes, if your quarterback has a massive cap hit, you don't win the Super Bowl. Generally, you don't even play for the Super Bowl. I went and looked up some stats from earlier today, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit before we came on. I went back through the last 12 Super Bowls. I went back to the last 12 Super Bowls, looked at each starting quarterback on the team, and looked at what their cap hit was for that season. And in terms of the entire NFL, how big their cap hit was. Caleb, we'll play a little game here. How many times do you think a team went to the Super Bowl with a quarterback that was a top 10 cap hit in the NFL over the last 12 Super Bowls? So 24 chances for that to happen. How many do you think happen?
To have a top 10 cap hit in the league or their
In,
team,
in the league. In the league.
and their quarterback was a top 10. Out of 24, 12.
It happened 4 times.
All right. Who are they?
Happened 4 times. Do you want to try and guess? Or
Uh,
since the Kaepernick,
Mahomes.
Flacco, Mahomes was twice. So
Mahomes
Mahomes is
twice,
the
Flacco, and
no, Flacco is on a rookie deal.
Oh.
Last year of his rookie contract.
wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So twice Mahomes. Don't think Brady would be on there.
No, the biggest cap hit Brady ever had when he
Peyton?
went to the Super Bowl. Peyton was the fourth biggest cap hit in 2014.
And I'm missing one. Wouldn't be. Nope. Stafford?
Nope.
Damn. I give up.
Jimmy G. Jimmy G was the eighth biggest cap hit in the NFL in 2020.
God, you forget about that.
Yeah. And if you
Because like
count
as soon as he signed that deal, about 6 other quarterbacks went and got mega paid too, like the following offseason.
Yep, exactly. It's the biggest cap hit Brady ever had in the years they went to the Super Bowl was 12.
Fitting.
He was the 12th biggest cap hit in 2017. Matt Ryan was the 11th that year, actually. This is all according
I was
to
thinking like Tampa Brady, but
Tampa Brady was 16.
all right.
Yep.
So where are
And
we going?
10 different times over the last 12 Super Bowls did a team go to the Super Bowl and their quarterback was on a rookie deal. Flacco did it. Kaepernick did it. Wilson did it twice. Russell Wilson did it twice. Cam Newton did it. 2018 is weird because Foles was the quarterback on that
But
team.
Wentz was the team, yeah.
Wentz was on the rookie deal that season still. Goff was on a rookie deal. Mahomes was on a rookie deal in 2020 and 2021. Burrow was on a rookie deal in 2022. And then Hurts and Purdy were both on rookie deals the past 2 seasons. And you see it. These teams, they go to the Super Bowl. The Seahawks went to the Super Bowl twice with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. They had to pay Russell Wilson. They never went back. This is just what happens in the NFL. And I'm not a big stocks guy. I'm not a big crypto guy. I'm not going to pretend that I am.
Good.
But
Yeah, we wouldn't be friends if you were a crypto guy.
it doesn't seem like a sustainable business model. And I get that these quarterbacks want this money because look, we have been so conditioned to the idea that oh, you need to have the quarterback to win the Super Bowl. You need to have it and all this. But do you really need an elite quarterback? I mean, the 49ers have went to the Super Bowl twice in the last 4 years, and
What was the
neither
biggest
time,
difference between those two teams? It was the
I don't know.
quarterback.
Well, yeah,
The biggest, both those teams insanely strong. The biggest difference was one of them had an MVP caliber quarterback. And while I'm not trying to compare Brock Purdy to Jimmy G by any means, Brock Purdy still doesn't compare to Patrick Mahomes.
well, he absolutely doesn't. But does it matter if you have a better quarterback if you can't make the Super Bowl? This is
No,
another point I was going to bring up. Patrick Mahomes is not worth the cap hit that he was going to be this year. The only way the Chiefs system works right now, and this obviously isn't a knock on Patrick Mahomes, is that they are on an all-time draft streak. They had L'Jarius Sneed, borderline all-pro corner on a rookie deal. George Karlaftis, one of the best pass rushers in the league, on a rookie deal. Trent McDuffie, all-pro first-team cornerback on a rookie deal.
by the way, I said the Patriots should have drafted him.
Ball. Ball. I don't know any other. I don't know what else.
I
to
was
say.
so pissed when we traded out of that pick. As soon as the trade thing went off, I'm like, that's who the Chiefs are going to take, aren't they?
Yep. And you've got Isaiah Pacheco, rookie deal. Rashee Rice, rookie deal. It only works if you can draft a Super Bowl caliber team within that short time span to make this team. That's why Patrick Mahomes took such a big hit on his annual money in the restructured contract, is because they needed to keep those guys or it wasn't going to work. It is much easier, and I was saying this when we were talking in the group chat with our buddy Ken, friend of the show, earlier,
Guest to
is
the show.
yes, guest to the show, former guest. It is much easier to replicate the strategy that the 49ers have done than it is to replicate okay, we're going to have the best quarterback in the league, and we're just going to draft a bunch of all pros and not have to pay them yet. That's not sustainable. You can't recreate it. It doesn't work. That's the only reason it worked. And the difference is, and I feel like in sports as fans, we kind of mix up can't and didn't. The 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl with Jimmy G or with Brock Purdy. They were a few plays away from doing it both times. So if one play, especially the Purdy Super Bowl, obviously went to overtime. If one play goes different, they win that Super Bowl.
Jimmy G hits that deep ball to Manny Sanders that I saw him do 100 times that season.
Exactly. And that's why I think eventually the quarterback market is going to crash. Because Dak Prescott, you can see Dak Prescott right now. Dak Prescott
He's gonna make $60 million.
Well, he might.
He's going to.
If he does, I don't know where he's gonna make it.
You don't think he's gonna make it in Dallas?
I mean, you never see teams go to quarterbacks and be like, especially like, I don't know if we'd say Dak is in his prime, but he's at the peak of his powers. He's not super old,
No, yeah, no. I would consider him to be in his prime. Maybe not the thick of it,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Quarterback in his primes, and Dallas has basically told him, we'll talk to you next season. We will completely risk you going and becoming an undrafted free agent, because they're not willing to pay a quarterback this massive, massive cap hit. And before, there's always been this narrative I've hated that, oh, well, you got to pay the quarterback. Even if you don't think he's worth it, you got to pay him to keep it around.
I've been right there with you.
Yeah, no, you don't. You really don't, because the 49ers have proven, as long as you spend your money well, as long as you have a quarterback who's fine, you're probably going to go to the Super Bowl. People forget that the 49ers probably would have went to the Super Bowl last year too, until Brock Purdy got hurt. So I think the market is going to end up crashing. And Patrick Mahomes, there's a reason why the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls. Belichick, and the fact that Brady was selfless enough to be like, I care about winning more than I care about making an extra $15 million. I'll take a pay cut. Patrick Mahomes is already starting to do that. Unless quarterbacks around the league start doing that more, they're not going to make the Super Bowl. I said it when they signed Joe Burrow to that contract last year. You may remember. I said they'll never go back to the Super Bowl.
I don't remember you saying that, but I do believe that you would say that.
Yeah, I said that. I said the second they signed into the deal, and it wasn't a knock on him. It's that, okay, you pay him this much money. You can't pay T. Higgins. Jamar Chase is going to have to get paid. You're going to lose all of these guys, and now you need Joe Burrow to be Superman. And the only guy in the league right now that can even have a chance of doing that is Patrick Mahomes.
And he's already doing the Tom Brady method of contracts. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think front offices are starting to wise up to it a bit. The paying your quarterback and having him be this massive, massive cap hit, it does not equal Super Bowls, or at least it hasn't over the last 15 seasons of the NFL.
Who would have thought that quarterbacks and running backs and winning Super Bowls would all have something in common?
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's a super interesting discussion, and obviously one the Patriots will be in the middle of, and hopefully in the next couple of seasons, if they get this rebuild right. Obviously, getting the picks right and building the team right is certainly a big aspect of this. So I'll ask the obvious question now before we move on. Brock Purdy's obviously going to need a new contract here. If he wants that Daniel Jones money, say he's humble enough to ask for the Daniel Jones money, Niners shouldn't give it to him by that description.
It depends on how much he wants. If he wants,
give me the Daniel Jones contract.
How much was the Daniel Jones contract? I can't remember how much he was making per year.
I know, like, assume Daniel Jones contract, but they don't have the weird team options opt-out thing. And he's making 30, let's call it 35 a year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Daniel Jones he's making $47 million this year.
His cap hit, yeah. His cap hit's above 40.
That's disgusting.
50 in the last year.
No, I wouldn't get. Well, okay. If Purdy wanted 45 million a year, I would consider that. Especially if guys like Dak are wanting 60, if they're going to get 60. I don't think 45 million for Brock Purdy is crazy. But that's why I said in the group chat earlier that this is the year, this is when you go all in. Because the Chiefs, they gained guys. They also lost L'Jarius Sneed, so the defense may not be as good as it was last season. You pay Brandon Ayuk and you figure it out in the offseason. I know that's a gross oxymoron thing to say. Just do this now and figure it out later. But you pay Brandon Ayuk, you keep the team together as much as you possibly can. You lost Chase Young, but who cares?
Oh yeah, no, that was a huge loss for them. Oh
yeah,
wouldn't have made the Super Bowl without him.
You keep the team together because when Brock Purdy has to get paid, you are either completely remodeling this team or you're in the market for a new quarterback. And I don't blame them either way they go, but you have to make that decision after this season no matter what. So that's what I would do. I would pay Brandon Ayuk, keep the team together, one last dance type thing, and just do
if
everything.
They don't say it plays out like this, and I hate to do this foreshadowing a year, 8 months from now. Say this plays out and they win the AFC Championship game, lose Super Bowl again. What do you pay him?
It would depend on how he plays.
A repeat from last year.
A repeat from last year. If the contract is 45 million and that's 15 million below market average, I'd pay him.
Okay.
I'd pay him. And
just wanted to squeeze the firm answer out of you,
Yeah, no, I would pay him if he plays that way and he wants 45 million a year, because that's about what Baker got, right? 40 to 45.
Something like that.
I would have no problem giving him that kind of a contract. I mean, we seem to be a bit higher on Brock Purdy than most people, but I would have no problem giving him that contract because you're going to have to make tough decisions on the aging guys anyway. Christian McCaffrey's coming up. George Kittle's not getting any younger, so you're going to have to retool at those positions anyway. At least lock down the quarterback while you can.
That should be an interesting story to follow. But Trent brings up the quarterback contracts. Something the Patriots haven't had to think about in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord for Tom Brady and his selflessness. All right. Now let's get to the fun stuff, shall we? It's a slow news week, everybody. So we're going to go to Vegas and we're going to look at the teams over-unders. Vegas comes out and they project what teams are going to win or lose, like total amount of games. We're going to say over or under, try to give you a little bit of an explanation why we're going to start at the bottom, go all the way up from the top. I am getting my over-unders from FanDuel, not a sponsor, but if they're listening, feel free to sponsor me so I can make this show better. All right. You ready, Trent? We're starting from the bottom.
Let's go.
The Carolina Panthers, their over-under, according to FanDuel, is 5.5. Is that an over or an under?
I lean under. I'm taking a look at their schedule now. Their schedule doesn't look...
Well, it's a last place schedule.
Overly tough. Yeah, their schedule doesn't look overly tough.
But do you foresee them getting that much better with this draft, with this offseason?
Well, they have a brand new coach. They have addition by subtraction by head coach instantly.
Like grade A, class 1, whatever it is, we called that from day one.
Yeah, no kidding. That was classic one, as my buddy Nick Wright would say. I would go under still. I think there's a lot of things they need to do to fix this team. Now, maybe after the draft, I feel differently depending on what kind of moves they make. But I would lean under right now.
I'm right there with you. Under. Don't love that team. They got a long way to go. The New England Patriots, cover your ears. 5.5. According to FanDuel. That's a heavy under. I'm pounding that under. Not doing it. That's an under.
They got a tough schedule.
Yep. Gone are the days of cupcake schedules for the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
And on top of that, that offense is still trash. There's no amount of draft class that's going to fix that overnight and make this any better of a team than they were last year. It's a long road. It's a long road. I'm taking the under.
I'm not going to lie. Patriots might be on 0-16 watch.
0-16 watch. It's a little
Have you
strong.
seen the schedule? This
I have
schedule
not.
is
I have not.
nasty. This is who they play. So home, obviously, Buffalo, Miami, New York, Houston, Indianapolis, Rams, Seahawks, Chargers.
Ooh.
That's all fringe playoff teams outside of the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh Magic. Lord knows how that team's going to be next year.
Yeah, Seahawks, Chargers are the only ones that I could be like, yeah, we could beat them, and the Jets.
Yeah, on the road. Yeah, and on the road, Cardinals. I like the Cardinals. We'll probably get into that a little bit. I like the Cardinals this year. Jaguars, Niners, Titans, Bengals, Bears.
I could see at most 5 wins.
Yeah, there's no way they're hitting 6 wins. I would be shocked.
Sorry, Patriots fans. It's an under.
It's a
Up
process.
next, the Denver Broncos. Also 5.5. That seems to be the league low. 5.5. That's for the bottom of the bottom. The quarterback is still Jarrett Stidham. I imagine that they're going to draft a rookie. I am sickened for my friend Braden, who is a Broncos fan. They're going to have Bo Nix in the first 2 rounds.
I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe Bo Nix is going in the first round until I see it with my own eyes.
I think he's a Denver Bronco, whether it's in the first round or whether it's the second round. I think you can lock him in as a Denver Bronco.
If it's the second round, then fine. I still don't like it, but that's whatever. If they pick him at 12 instead of taking a receiver or taking whoever,
Brock Bowers.
oh, do they need Brock Bowers? I know they got rid of Noah Fant, but I thought
They don't really have they could use him if he's the best offensive weapon there. Like, why not?
Yeah.
5.5 for Denver. I'll take the under as it stands now. It's probably the closest we've gotten. They've gotten the order right.
Right now, I'll take the under.
Quarterback competition between Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix. You feeling that?
Yeah, that I was trying to convince myself into taking the over because their schedule isn't super tough.
Sean Payton's a wizard, but
you couldn't make Russell Wilson work.
No, but I think that's because he's super picky about what kind of quarterback he has. He's either willing to work with him or he's not. And he tried it with Russell Wilson. He wasn't willing to work with him from day one. I'll take the under. They don't have a quarterback.
Yeah,
and that offense is still looking rough. Better than ours, but that's a low bar. Under for them at 5.5.
Low bar.
This is going to be my first over, I think. The Tennessee Titans at 6.5. I think I'll take the over on that. I like what they've done this offseason. Their head coach is still a very, very question for me. I want to see it. If they had kept Mike Vrabel, I think this over-under is a lot higher.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll take the over on the Titans. I'll take over for sure.
You said 6.5 or 5?
6.5.
6.5. I'm gonna go under because they have a pretty tough schedule. But I think they've got the over under nailed on that one. I think 6 or 7 wins is going to be right at where they're at. They could be a lot higher. There's a lot of potential for that to be higher if Will Levis bottoms out like he very much well might. Probably going to hit the under on that.
All right. Another under. The New York Giants at 6.5. I'm taking the under all day.
That screams under to me.
What do the Giants do this offseason besides nothing? Besides losing Saquon Barkley.
I mean, Daniel Jones got healthy, I guess. We want to.
Is that really a net positive?
No. I mean, better than what they had, but still.
And they're probably gonna force themselves to take quarterback at 6, and it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
I'll take the under on the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under on them too. I'm surprised they have a lower over under. I mean, their schedule is easier than Tennessee, but I think Tennessee is a much better looking team right now.
Up next, the Washington Commanders. You can assume that they're gonna have a rookie quarterback out there week 1. They're at 6.5. I'm still feeling under on this. I'll see how the draft class looks, but that defense still don't love it. And that offense, I really just don't like. A rookie quarterback might change some things. Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson with a real quarterback, a serious quarterback might help. Brian Robinson, I'm a fan, but don't love it enough for me to say to me be feeling comfortable that they're going to get 7 wins. I'll take the under.
6.5, you said?
Yes.
I'll take the under. I think 6 wins is probably what they're looking at. That's another one where I wouldn't be surprised. If you win 7 games, you're a fringe playoff team in the new era of the NFL. I don't see it.
I'm pounding the over on this one. The Minnesota Vikings at 6.5. Pounding the over. They're going to get an 8. They're going to get 8 wins. 8 wins minimum. That's what I'm feeling on the Vikings. Top tier offense. That defense is getting a whole lot better. Brian Flores is a defensive wizard. Kevin O'Connell is a great head coach. I think that team's dummy proof. I think 8 wins is minimum for them.
Yeah, I don't know about 8 wins minimum because I think I'm a lot higher on this division as a whole than you are. I don't think there's no gimmies. There's no gimmies in this division at all. I think Chicago is going to be a lot better than people think they are. And if I had to pick a team to finish last in the division right now, I would pick Minnesota. But that's not too much of a knock on them because the quarterback play was actually terrible. That word gets thrown around a lot. It was god awful. So I think just the addition of a competent, warm body at quarterback will give them a huge jump. I'll take the over. I don't think they'll smash the over, but I think they'll win at least 7 games.
Up next, the New Orleans Saints sit at 7.5. Kind of feeling the under on that. Don't love the operation they got going on over there. Derek Carr is not getting any younger. Certainly not getting any better. The offense as a whole just feels like outside of Chris Olave, it's just aging and gross. The defense still remains tough, but I don't know. 7 feels like a lot to me. I'll take the under.
You said 7.5?
Yep.
I don't know. I think I'm going to take the over. Their schedule, I mean, it is
Cupcake?
cupcakes all day. Obviously, you get Carolina twice. You get 6 games of the NFC South, which are far from world beaters. I don't care how good you feel about the Falcons. I don't think they're going to take a massive jump. But they get the Broncos, they get the Raiders, they get the Commanders, they get the Chargers and the Giants. So that's 11 games against teams that aren't very good. So you only have to sneak out a couple wins as an underdog at that point, or as like a big underdog at that point. I'll take the over on New Orleans.
Yeah, probably a difference of a game between me and you. I think 7's about right.
Yeah.
Feeling the unders today. This one I'm feeling the over. No, next one. Next one I'm feeling the over. This one, Seattle Seahawks over under at 7.5. This is another one I think they got about right. I guess I'll take the over on it. I think they're a solid team. I think they're capable of squeaking out some wins you didn't see coming. Like that Dallas game, I think. Didn't they squeak that out last year? Or am I mistaken?
No, they did not.
They did not.
It was a shootout though.
So they can hang. They can hang at the very least. Another draft should do them well. This is the first year of their new head coach. Who is it?
Mike McDonald.
Where's he from?
From the Michigan Wolverines, go blue, but was the defensive coordinator in Baltimore.
Oh, okay. So the defense is going to get a little better. I'll take the over. I'll feel okay with them at, what is it, 7.5? Yep, 7.5. Yeah. I'll take that.
7.5. I'm going to hammer it too because this is another team with a really easy schedule. You get Arizona twice. I'm high on Arizona, but not super high on Arizona. And then you get Denver, Giants, Vikings, Patriots, Jets, and Falcons. So they have a really nice schedule coming up.
This team should be competing for the division win. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers also at 7.5. I'm taking the over on that. They didn't get all that much worse this offseason. I don't know how much better they got, but they kept the pieces that won the division last year, and The only team that made strong improvements in that division is Atlanta by firing Arthur Smith and bringing in a new offensive coaching staff, bringing in Kirk Cousins, who is a huge upgrade over Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, whether you believe it or not. Yeah, I'll take the over on Tampa at 7.5.
I don't know. I'm feeling
If you're taking the under, you gotta explain to me how they got worse.
well, it's not necessarily that I think they got worse. I just think other teams got better. I think Carolina is not going to be a punching bag next year.
Oh,
I don't
I still believe they're gonna be a punching bag.
I don't think they're going to be very good, but I don't think they're going to be just chalk it up as a win, which Carolina almost beat them last year, even. But they have New Orleans, they have Denver, they have Vegas, and they have the Commanders. Those are 4 pretty easy games, and they have the Giants and Chargers. That's 6 easy games. I'll go over. I'll go over. They probably hit the over, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be enough to win the division this year.
Well, both I think hammer the over on this one. Pittsburgh is 7.5.
Oh yeah, hammering the over on 7.5.
Yeah.
I want to put $100 on that right now. What's the hold on? What are the odds on them over?
Minus 170.
Minus 170. That's fair.
So Vegas also feels confident that they'll go over, but they that's where they set the bar. I'm sure you can find an alternate that has them over 8, over 9.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
This is going to be in your wheelhouse, though, as we both take the over on Pittsburgh. The Indianapolis Colts, 8.5.
Yeah, I figured that's about what it would be, is 8.5. I can't remember who we play. What's our schedule looking like? So
We got Anthony Richardson coming back, although Joe Flacco is going to be coming for that QB1 job, according to Joe Flacco.
I mean, we get the Patriots, Jets, Broncos, Giants. It's 4 dubs right there. And then if we just split with Tennessee, I mean, we usually split with the division. We usually go around 500 in the division. So that's 7 wins right there. And then the rest of the schedule is the NFC North and the AFC East. So do we play Miami here? We do play Miami here. I'm going to go over. I don't think we may very well end up 3rd in the division. We might be a better team than Jacksonville. I think with Anthony Richardson, we were pushing on being a better team than him last year. I think Houston is still the class of the division, but I'll go over on 8.5.
Vegas has those odds at plus 118.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they feel more confident about you going under. But
yeah, that's
I'll
interesting.
take the over with you. I think 8's about right. I'll bet on them to take a game that they shouldn't rather than lose a game that they shouldn't. But we'll see. It's still early. Up next, you're another team that you're going to make a heavy case for that I'm not comfortable with just yet. I still want to see it on the field. I want to see it with my own eyes. The Chicago Bears, 8.5. I'll take the under personally, but I'll let you make the case for the over.
Well, let me see. I actually don't know because they were 4th in the division, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so they get Washington, Carolina, New England, Seattle, Tennessee. So that's 5 super winnable games right there. A lot of people are forgetting that and I'm far from the first person who said this, but usually when a team gets the number 1 overall pick and they add, in theory, the best player in the draft, they're usually really bad. Like the Panthers got Bryce Young, they were horrid.
Trayvon Walker and the Jags.
Trayvon Walker and the Jags. The Panthers traded up. I apologize for saying that. They did trade up.
But they had the first pick.
They did have the first pick, and they needed the first pick because they were that bad. So it's a good thing that they traded up to get it when they traded with Chicago. But Chicago last year with horrible offense, not many weapons on the offensive side of the ball, they won 7 games. And I believe post Montez Sweat trade, they were one of the 5 best defenses in football. Now you're adding DeAndre Swift. I know people aren't crazy about DeAndre Swift, but much better than what they had, in my opinion. Keenan Allen, Caleb Williams, and another first-round talent to that team. I think they're going to hammer 8.5. I think they're going to be competing for the division this year.
All right, that's the case, people. They have that even. They don't know if they're going to go over or under.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing to have it even too, because they're going to make they're baking into that pick what that they are going to draft Caleb Williams. But if they're able to get Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, that
Watch out.
offense is going to be disgusting.
Up next, the Cleveland Browns over under 8.5. I'm taking the under. They don't have a goddamn quarterback worth of crap.
Yeah, but they didn't have one last year, and they still made the playoffs and looked like, I mean, it's easy to forget, but they were a trendy surprise AFC title game run pick before. I mean, obviously the Houston game happened and that went away by the second quarter, but that defense is disgusting. That defense is going to be so good this year.
Well, think about it. When Deshaun Watson inevitably gets hurt again, you're playing Jameis Winston, who you and I both think stink.
Yes.
Joe Flacco had a miracle run.
Yes.
They're not repeating that.
Even then, they didn't look that bad with DTR and PJ Walker. I mean, they didn't look great, but assuming Deshaun Watson stays healthy, we don't really like talking about Deshaun Watson, but he's fine.
I don't know. Did he look fine last year?
He was fine. I mean, he wasn't
Didn't love what I saw.
He had his moments.
I think the days of vintage Deshaun Watson are dead.
Oh, I think they're dead too. But I think the days of him being a fine, capable NFL starting quarterback, I can't imagine he's fallen off that much. I refuse to believe if it happens this year, if he looks that bad again this year, then he's a lost cause. But
I'll come back and clip it and be like, oh, hey, look, Caleb was right again.
Yeah, if he's a lost cause again this year, then he's done. But I think he'll be fine at most, and the defense is so good. I don't think he needs to be great for this team. They're sitting at 8.5.
8.5.
8.5. I'll take the over.
I'll take the under. That's another one that's even. Ooh, Jacksonville Jaguars 8.5 as well. 8's about right, personally. I'm not huge on that Jacksonville operation right now. There's not a lot to get excited about over there.
Nope.
You're still waiting on that Trevor Lawrence making the big, big, big difference. And sure, he is making a big difference. He's the reason they're not like a 3-win team.
Yeah.
But God, I mean, when you look at Jacksonville, what are you feeling good about? What do you feel great about?
I mean, you got Eric Armstead. That's a huge get. Don't get me wrong. That's a massive player to get in free agency, but you replace Calvin Ridley with Gabe Davis. Not instilling the most confidence in the offense this year.
I really want Trevor. I want this Jaguars team to suck so Trevor Lawrence will get pissy and try to get out. Save Trevor Lawrence, please.
Well, I could be wrong, but I think after next season, if he doesn't get a contract done, he's a free agent.
5th-year option. They got to pick that up.
Yeah.
So
he will.
He won't be a free agent until 2026 at the earliest.
Okay.
But they'll make him play out those 5 years in Jacksonville. They will.
For sure.
Maybe even a franchise tag after that. They might give him the Kirk Cousins treatment. But I really just want him to get out. I want him to go to a competent organization. But yeah. I'll take the under with Jacksonville just because the vibes aren't there.
You said it's 8.5, right?
8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go under because I think there's a very real chance that Jacksonville is the worst team in the division this year. For as much crap as I've talked about the Colts and for as much worry I've had about the offseason moves we've made, the offense looked pretty good with Gardner Minshew, and I think we both agree that Anthony Richardson if healthy, is
Should
a
be
massive,
better. Yeah, should be way better.
massive upgrade over Gardner Minshew. Colts fans who watched every game last season, we saw it. I mean, the national media fell in love with Minshew, and I love Gardner. Don't get me wrong, but we were winning some games in spite of Gardner Minshew, which we weren't even doing with a young Anthony Richardson. So if AR is healthy, I fully expect the Colts to be better than Jacksonville and to be better than Tennessee. So I'll take the under too, but that's another one where I agree 8 wins sounds about right for them.
I'm backtracking a little bit because I think I skipped some teams as I was scrolling through. I think I saw
I
the
was about to
Vikings.
say,
I think I
what's the
saw the
over-under on
Vikings logo
Arizona?
and my
'Cause
eyes shot up and I skipped.
I was about to say,
The Las Vegas Raiders, I don't think we talked about.
no, we did not.
Their over/under is at 6.5. Excuse me, fans. As we go back, the Raiders at 6.5. I want to take the over. I like the Raiders this year. I think they had a lot of promise last year. They have to prove that Antonio Pierce wasn't just was a flash in the pan. But I like the pieces. They lose Josh Jacobs. It's a huge loss. But I don't know, a team with Devontae Adams, a team with Max Crosby, a team with a young defense that's got an edge. 6 feels low. I'll take them at 7. I think they're good enough and chippy enough to squeak away some wins. And I like both their quarterbacks enough. I don't know if you feel different.
I'm leaning over, but the schedule's kind of tough. I mean, in division, you have 2 games against Kansas City, just off rip. It helps that you play Denver and Los Angeles twice. That definitely helps a lot. And you get Atlanta and you get Carolina. So you're playing the NFC South. That helps too. But then you have Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Miami, the Rams that you have to play. I mean that's a tough stretch for sure. But it's kind of the same thing with Carolina where I think addition by subtraction enough is going to be enough just to push the Raiders over because you saw how good they looked last year under Antonio Pierce. It may be a bit of fool's gold, but until we see that, I'll take the over on 6.5 for sure.
FanDuel actually favors them to go over versus under.
I
Minus
figured
144.
6.5 seems low. I figured it would be 7.5 for them.
And what brought me to this is when you kept saying the Cardinals. I'm like, I haven't seen them yet. The Cardinals
I'm glad you
over
thought
under
that because
6.5.
in my head, I was like, we had to have skipped over Arizona.
6.5 for Arizona. I don't know what to make then. Trent, can you talk me into this one?
Well, I think they have the head coaching hire figured out personally.
Who would have thought after all the reports in Philly about how he was awful?
Yeah, exactly. I think they have the head coach situation figured out. I'm still a big believer in Kyler Murray. I still think he's a really good NFL quarterback, and it's really promising how good he looked from the word go coming back from that injury last season. I expect a big season out of Kyler. The wide receiver room is a disaster right now, but that has to be getting fixed here in the draft. If I was Arizona, I wouldn't trade the pick personally. I would take Marvin Harrison Jr. and not think about it.
No,
Personally,
I'm right there with you.
they need receivers so bad, and I don't think they're as bad in other places. I mean, you have Trey McBride, who is looking to have a really promising season this year, and the defense. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think they were too bad
had
last
their
year.
moments. It's lacking star power for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you're playing like you said earlier, 4th place schedule. They get New England, they get the Jets, the Commanders, the Chargers, Carolina, and Minnesota. So, and then you get Seattle for 2 games. So, like I said, I don't think Seattle's going to be.
They usually split with Seattle at the very least.
Yeah, they usually split with Seattle, and I believe they beat the 49ers last year, didn't they? Am I
I
making
can't
that
remember.
up? They definitely beat Dallas. I can't remember if they beat.
I don't know if they beat San Fran. I don't remember.
Did they? I'm about to look it up. Did they beat San Francisco last year?
While you're looking that up, I don't know. I think Kyler Murray. I mean, we saw what that Cardinals team could overcome when they had a lackluster defense, but they had DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. I think similar effect. I don't know if they're a playoff team by any means, but I think that I'll take them over 6. As much for all the teams that I have under in this bottom, I gotta have somebody that's an over. That'll shock me a little bit, but
You
what do you
said
find?
6.5 on Arizona.
6.5.
I'm taking the over. I feel pretty confident about the over on Arizona.
Did they beat San Fran last year?
They did not beat San Francisco. They had another crazy win. They beat Dallas,
Don't know what you could be talking.
Philadelphia. I think that was which was
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah. I think
spectacular.
I picked the Cardinals to win that one too because Philly was just not
Yeah.
looking spectacular. All right, did I skip any team? We talked about the Seahawks. Okay, no, we're caught up. We're caught up. The Rams at 8.5. I'll take the over, assuming that
Over.
everybody's healthy.
Rams are going to be competing for a Super Bowl this year. I feel confident about the over.
They were gonna compete last year if they faced like anybody but Detroit in that divisional round there.
Yep.
The Jets at no, we're waiting. Chargers at 8.5. Take the under.
Under. Whoa, yeah, no, under.
I'll take
I
the
don't
under. That's a
feel
little
very
high.
good.
But just wait till
Now
this next one. Just
we'll see
wait till this
post
next
draft.
one. One game higher. The New York Jets at 9.5. 9.5 for the New York Jets. Hammering the under. Can I get an alternative and put them like under 6?
I don't know if I would go under 6. If Rodgers is healthy, I think they'll be a solid, 6, 7 wins.
40-year-old quarterback, torn Achilles. Off
Look,
of
I
one
agree.
of his worst
I
career
don't think they're
years.
going to be competing for anything. Vegas can't quit Aaron Rodgers. It's like they can't quit the Bills. They can't quit Rodgers or the Buffalo Bills, which I'm shocked we haven't even gotten to the Bills yet. I don't. Are these updated
I believe so.
to current? I'm getting ahead of myself. We're talking about the Jets. They can't quit Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand. I don't know what they see in this team that makes them think it's going to be 9.5 wins. I don't know what anybody has seen to think Aaron Rodgers is even going to be able to stay healthy. He has a horrible injury history. He's over 40 years old. They
Well, the
have
Texans gained a game, so yeah, these are updated.
Okay. They have two 30-plus-year-old band-aids at tackle right now, holding it together, and everybody mocking seems to think that the Jets aren't going to take a tackle at 10, which is crazy to me. But I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Even if Rodgers stays healthy, 9.5 seems insane to me.
Hammering that under.
Yeah.
And they actually Vegas favors them going under, but they're both minuses.
Yeah, like I get that you play in the East, and if everything goes right, you've got 2 games against New England, which you probably win, and then you've got 2 games against Buffalo, which we'll see what Buffalo looks like. But 9.5 just seems crazy to me.
Another 9.5. It's crazy, but not as crazy. The Falcons. You hope that those coaching changes really changed everything. You really hope that Zach Robinson's going to get the most out of Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Kirk Cousins and Bijan Robinson. 9 feels right. I'll take the under. I think the winner of that division goes 9-8. I wouldn't be shocked if they go 10-8 or 10-7. But 9 feels right. I'll lean the safe pick. I'll take the under. 9's a lot of games.
I'm gonna take the over.
Okay.
I think.
I was actually shocked that that you're the guy taking the over on the Falcons here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over just because. I'm gonna take the over because they won 7 games last year with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke at quarterback. I don't know how Kirk Cousins is going to look at his age post Achilles surgery. He can't be that bad, right? Or even close to that bad.
I think Rodgers is going to look a lot worse than he does.
I think he will too. And in Rodgers' defense, slightly, Rodgers is 4 or 5 years older than Kirk is.
And he rushed the recovery.
Yeah, allegedly. Guys, I could have played. Whatever. We don't need to get into all that. But they won 7 games last year. They're not playing the hardest schedule in the world. I mean, they played Dallas, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and that's really their only super tough games, in my opinion. I'll go 10 wins. I think the Falcons most likely win this division this year.
Texans, they opened at 8.5. Now they're 9.5. I'll take the over on it again.
Over.
Yeah.
I don't even need to look at their schedule. I feel good about taking them over.
How about the Green Bay Packers at 9.5? I feel pretty good about that over too.
I don't know about that.
I do. I feel okay. I feel pretty okay with going over at 9.5. Obviously, division's tough. But I don't know. I have faith. I have faith that everybody on that team is gonna get better because they're so young. Um, you expect a giant leap forward, and I think they'll be competing for the North. I do.
Yeah, you expect a giant leap forward. Another thing that is negative against it is that Chicago is going to get a lot better from last year. Chicago's getting a lot better. Their schedule isn't the easiest in the world. They play Arizona, they play Tennessee, and they play the Saints, and they play the Eagles, depending on how we feel about the Eagles. I'm sure we'll be getting to them
They're
here
coming
shortly.
up.
Other than that, they're all playing playoff teams and Indianapolis, who with Anthony Richardson most likely was a playoff team last year. So I'm gonna go under. I think they probably stay at 9 wins, even though I really like this team. I wouldn't be shocked if they go over. I just think they've got a tough schedule and they don't have a ton of experience on that team. And I really don't like Josh Jacobs. I think that's not going to work out well for them. I'll take the under.
I'm a big guy. I'm a big fan of Josh Jacobs. I think it's gonna work out great.
I was too before he had a 400 carry season.
It's true, but I don't know. We'll see how the Green Bay uses them. Miami Dolphins at 9.5. Another one. I feel like nine's about right. They didn't gain a lot of ground this offseason, but they didn't lose anything. Um, the Bills got a little bit worse. The Jets are still the Jets. They're going to beat the Patriots twice. As long as Tua doesn't, have another concussion. God forbid.
Yep.
I'll take the over, but it's not a confident one. At most, they're winning 10, 11 games. In a realistic world.
I'm looking at it now. It's funny because I'm looking at their away schedule and I'm trying to see what teams are they playing where they're going to be playing outside and in the cold.
Especially late in the season.
Yeah, exactly. Which we obviously we don't have a good idea on that yet, but once we get the actual schedule, or at least we will. But they play at Seattle, at Cleveland, at Green Bay.
Could all be very bad winter games.
Yes, and obviously they play New York, New England, and Buffalo. Also, could
Very
well
bad winter games.
Yes. Outside of that, they on the road they play Indianapolis, playing a dome, LA in California and playing a dome, Houston, Texas playing a dome. So in their home schedule, they play Vegas, Arizona, and Tennessee. I'll go over. I walked into this pod thinking I was going to take Buffalo to win the division. I don't think I'm doing that.
It's fool's gold, Trent. It was fool's gold last year. It's even bigger fool's gold now.
Somebody's got to win it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be Buffalo again.
I don't think it is.
It's gonna be Buffalo again. But up next, we got a couple of teams. Dallas Cowboys at 10.5.
Over.
Think so?
Yeah. I feel they're regular season warriors. It's what they've always been. I have no problem taking them over.
How about the Philadelphia Eagles? 10.5. Imagine the bottom just collapses in Philadelphia.
That's definitely possible.
10.5. I mean, in that NFC East, you're gonna get 3 free wins between those bottom two teams. You're gonna get at least 3. You should have 4, but you're gonna at least get 3.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you split with Dallas because you always split with Dallas.
Yeah, Jalen, you would assume is going to be healthy this year.
I didn't like him. I'm not overly a big Jalen guy to begin with.
Yeah, but if it's Jalen from 2 years ago, this team is going to be cooking. I mean, this team's going to compete for a Super Bowl if Jalen is back to
their
that
offensive coordinator these days.
They got a new offensive and defensive coordinator, so that's a sign for
Can't get any worse, right? That's the question.
It can't get worse. Question is how much it gets better. They play the NFC South and they play the AFC North, I believe, this year.
Ugh, AFC North brutal.
AFC North is brutal, but the NFC South is equally as
So assuming they get
brutal.
4 wins there, and then NFC South, you're gonna get at least 2, 3, 7.
I'll go under on
I'll go
Phil.
under, but with the caveat that the number is 10.
Yeah, I think they're probably a 10-win team but I wouldn't be shocked if Philly ends up being the number 1 seed in the NFC. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but if
I
they
would be
can
shocked.
fix the issue, maybe number 1 seed in the NFC is a little
Something
much.
bad would have to happen to San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, even then, I think the NFC has gotten a lot better. I mean, we've already talked about how I feel about Chicago.
There's only one team in the NFC that has a projection over 10.
One team in the NFC
Yep. Over 10 and a half, excuse me.
over 10 and a half. So, oh, well, I guess we'll get to the other team that
The other team is right there, the Detroit Lions at 10 and a half.
Yep, they're gonna.
I feel the over on that. I do.
Also feel the over on that. I'm surprised they're not at 11 and a half. It is a tough division. It's a tough division for sure.
Then that's the holdup there.
But
Cincinnati Bengals at 10 and a half.
Under.
You're going to take the under.
They're the worst team in the division, and I'll stand by that. I don't even think it's that hot of a take, honestly. I know everyone else does. I don't even think it's that hot of a take. I think Cincinnati's going to be the worst team in the division this year.
Lost Joe Mixon. Do that what you will. Something's got to happen with T. Higgins at some point, right?
Yep. Lost Joe Mixon. The T. Higgins thing is going to be a dark cloud over this team the entire season. I will say, if Joe Burrow stays healthy, I think Jamar Chase is going to have an all-time type season. Like, this could be like...
You say that, and how do you expect me to take the under?
Because I think the rest of the team isn't going to do anything.
How's the defense?
I mean, lost Jesse Bates. Pretty sure they lost they lost Chidobe Awuzie as well.
They lost Jesse Bates 2 years ago.
I know, but I'm just looking at like when people think about the Bengals, they think about the Bengals in terms of Super Bowl contenders, and they really haven't been that.
I certainly don't feel that way right now, but
I don't know. The defense is uninspiring to me. The offensive line.
They lost Tyler Boyd too.
Yeah, they lost Tyler Boyd. The T. Higgins thing is TBD. I think Jamar Chase is going to just be a target vacuum. Any of my fantasy guys watching Jamar Chase? No. But I don't think
you're right.
I don't know
They've lost a lot.
I don't know how much it's going to turn into wins. I think I'm obviously a lot higher on Pittsburgh than most teams are, and I think Pittsburgh. Obviously, Baltimore is a better team.
You think Pittsburgh should be up here at 10 and a half, and the Bengals should be down there at 8 and a half?
Yes. Well, I don't know about 8 and a half for Cincinnati. I still think Cincinnati's a really good team. Don't get me wrong. I think that
also some big losses across the coaching staff for them.
Yeah, big losses across the staff. They lost their offensive coordinator, correct? Didn't they?
Yeah, he went to go to be head coach of the Titans.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm not crazy about
I'll take the under. Okay, you coaxed me into it. It's an under. Baltimore Ravens at 11 and a half.
That seems steep. I'll take.
Well, you say that because the rest of you have faith in the rest of the division.
Yeah.
I'll take the under two. I'll take a step back. Not like a monumental step back, because obviously when you gain Derrick Henry in that offense, it's not going to be worse.
No, I'll 11 and a half, you said?
Yes.
I'll take the over. Their schedule stinks.
Does it?
Yes, they get Denver, Vegas, Washington, Buffalo, Chargers, Giants, Buccaneers.
So that's 8, and then you got to assume that they get some wins out there that are a little bit tougher.
Yeah, they get Cincinnati twice. Cleveland
11
twice.
is a lot of games.
It is. I mean, they won 13 last year, and while I think losing Patrick Queen stinks,
defensive coordinator lost to.
Yep, lost your defensive coordinator, but they run through defensive coordinators all the time. Like I don't. Baltimore is always going to have a good defense. They just will. I can't imagine they won't.
11.5. That's a lot of games,
I'll
man.
I'll take the over. I think they're a 12-win team at
That's
least.
a lot of games. I'll take the over. It's a lot of games, though. But 11.5 is the max. The San Francisco 49ers over under 11.5. I'll take the over on them. They're going to be right at the top of the NFC.
Yeah. I don't think I can't imagine that they don't. I would take that pretty confidently. And they get if I'm not mistaken, they get the AFC East. So that's
Yeah, they play the Patriots.
four pretty favorable games right there.
And then the Kansas City Chiefs, league high 11.5, tied with the last three teams we just talked about.
Yep.
It's a competitive AFC.
It
That's
is
my hot take. I'll take the under on Kansas City, but it'll be at like 11.
I
They're
don't
gonna
think
have weird struggles. They need to get a receiver in that building. That's not
yeah,
Hollywood Brown.
I'm about to say they did. I mean, I'm not crazy about Hollywood Brown, but
Get a first round talent in that room.
Kadarius Toney makes Hollywood Brown look like Calvin Johnson.
I make Kadarius Toney look like
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling forgot how to play football for 17 weeks. He only plays in the playoffs. It's absurd. Mecole Hardman was so bad, the New York Jets did not want him. Think about that. That's how bad he was. And then Rashee Rice, I feel really strongly about Rashee Rice. I think he's
Oh,
great.
so long as he doesn't get arrested.
He's not going to get arrested. If we can go on like a tiny aside about this,
Go ahead.
Nick Wright talked about it the other day, and I think he made a really good point that for right or wrong, and I think it's for wrong, and I think most people would agree, we don't judge broken laws. When people break the law when it comes to driving, we judge based on the outcome of it and not the action itself. So outside of the drinking, because I believe Henry Ruggs was drunk.
Yeah, no, he had just come from getting plastered at Top Golf, and then he did what he did.
He was drunk when he did what he did, but they did the same thing pretty much. Rashee Rice and Henry Ruggs. The only difference is that when Henry Ruggs did it, someone died, and when Rashee Rice did it, nobody really got hurt.
And he left the crime scene.
Not seriously hurt. So I don't think there's going to be much happen to Rashee Rice. Maybe a couple games suspension, but I would be shocked if he got arrested or if there is any serious punishment that comes from this. Should there be? Yes, but I don't think there will be.
11. I gotta pick somebody to go under here of this group. God, I'll pick
I
Kansas
feel
City.
like we've picked under a lot.
Yeah, but now the top echelons.
I mean, you look at Kansas City's schedule. I mean, they get the NFC South. I think that's 4 wins. They get the NFC South. That's 4 wins right there. They get the. Do they get? Excuse me. They get Buffalo and Cleveland, not the greatest teams on the planet. And then they get Cincinnati. I think we agree Cincinnati is not world beaters by any means. They also get Cincinnati in Kansas City. They travel to San Francisco. I can't wait to see that. But I think they'll hit at least 12 wins pretty easily. They lose L'Jarius Sneed, but there's no way they don't retool this offense in the draft. I have no questions about that.
Fine. Over. God. Can't wait till preseason when these things actually matter.
Yeah.
Get to the end of the preseason, all the cuts happen, and these numbers look really different because injuries or because team players aren't panning out like we thought they would. The Chargers were at 8.5. Did we say under for them?
Yeah. We breezed by them pretty quickly. I mean, I never count out Jim Harbaugh when it comes to stuff like this. He turned a 6-win team into an NFC title team. So I just don't see it with this group. I think they're a year away.
A little ways to go. Yeah.
I think they're a year away, but next season, the season after this upcoming season, they're going to be a real problem.
Well, let's hope so. Somebody's got to give Kansas City a little bit of competition, huh?
Yeah.
But, all right. Those were your NFL over-unders pre-draft. We'll see how much that changes post-draft. We got 2 weeks of content to fill, Trent. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Get your thinking cap on because we got to come up with stuff. Thank you for watching, everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow the page, follow the show, share it with your friends. Comment what you think. Do you disagree with any of the odds that we said, any of the over-unders? What would you do at pick number 3? Give us your thoughts on Stefon Diggs trade. And between all that, we will see you all hopefully next Wednesday. No, as long as Trent isn't slaying up the bingo halls as he was this week. You've been listening to the Foxboro BeatCast. We will see you all next week. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Foxboro BeatCast. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.